Are we living in what would have been considered a dystopia 80 years ago? Considering the 20th century had two of the deadliest wars in human history, the Great Depression, and the real risk of a nuclear apocalypse, I'm gonna say no. We live in the age of miracles and all we do is complain. 80 years was in the middle of WW2, so probably not. Also, most people then would have memories of the Great Depression. What do you mean? I can't smoke in this elevator. This is a dystopian nightmare. 80 years ago, members of my family were in German-occupied France during WW2. Some of their experiences include lack of food. My grandfather once bicycled 200 miles to get a sack of potatoes to feed the family. Bombardment by the British and US bombers. My grand-aunt was living near the railway, being almost shot by the Germans as revenge for partisan attack. Execution was called out at the last minute after they were lined against the wall and forced labor in Germany at the age of 16. I am grateful I live today. More like a utopia. 80 years ago WW2 was happening, and we've had a ton of advancements in medicine, communications, travel, and consumer tech since then. Given that cancer is no longer a death sentence, famine is nearly non-existent thanks to modified crops improving nutrition, and I, a black chick, can go to medical school without being harassed by the KKK, I'm gonna say no. 80 years ago, the Holocaust was happening. This is not a comparative dystopia. We are actually living in the best of times and the worst of times. I absolutely don't think so. I think a lot of people now tend to overestimate how bad our modern society really is. No, social media may make you feel like that, but it's hard to point to a single metric that humanity has not improved on in the last 80 years, obviously save for metrics relating to the climate. Now obviously some of these benefits are felt more in Western society, but in the last 80 years we have improved. Life expectancy, literacy rates, reduction in extreme poverty, access to clean water, technological advancements, child mortality rates, gender equality measures created the internet, reduced global hunger, and that's just off the top of my head. Women didn't have a ton of personal rights until the 6070s. Not a big deal if you had a good marriage, hell if you were trapped in a bad one. So feeling pretty good about 2024 here in a Western country. No. Things are, for most people, pretty good, compared to history. I mean, the primary complaint of people from 80 years ago would probably be all the miscegenation, so I'm not really worried about what those people would think. 80 years ago, there were millions of hiding during an occupation that would arrest and kill them based simply on their religious beliefs. Doesn't get more dystopian than that. So we're close, but not just there yet. What's interesting is that the way fiction explores dystopian societies is to actually replicate the past and warn against history repeating itself. We are always in a dystopia somewhere. I can't say I agree. We live in better times now than the 80s, so it's not a dystopia. Futuristic, sure, but with far better access to education and information, way less dictatorial government, and all the medical advances made since, you'll take now over than any day. I think Brave New World warned us about ourselves best, even better than 1984. Not only would there be constant surveillance, but we'd be the ones pointing the cameras. Maybe, but not for the reasons most people complain about. We complain about high rent and food prices. 80 years ago many Americans didn't even have electricity. If they think this is dystopian, it's because marriage rates are dropping, as is church attendance. Women have jobs, black and white people can eat at the same restaurants, and gay people can marry. In the 1940s my father's family didn't even have electricity yet. Also there was a world war going on. As fucked up as it seems to us, the world of today with air conditioning and without children working 10-hour shifts in cotton gins would have seemed like some kind of Star Trek level utopia.